Hi, welcome to Undead Yarn. This is episode 13, and my name is Heidi. You can find me on Ravelry and Plurk as Knitty Girl, and on Twitter and Instagram as Knitty Girl 1. I'm going to go ahead and, before I forget, tell you what I'm wearing. This is something I made a while ago. It's called Allegria, and it's by Cornelia Tuttle Hamilton. I made it with Silk Garden, and the one thing I would have to say is I don't think Silk Garden wears well. It's nice to work with, but I feel like it's got a lot of pills on it, and it just looks a lot rougher than when I first made it. Versus the sweater I wore a couple weeks ago that I made with Curion. That sweater still looks great, and I feel like the Curion actually wears better. Another thing I would have to say about this pattern is I wish that I had followed the instructions and used a single color yarn to do the I-cord around, because I don't quite like the way that it came out with I used the rest of my Noro for it, and I think it would have looked better with a solid color. But otherwise it fits well, and I do like the pattern. And obviously I like to knit with Noro. The next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and get started with talking about my works in progress. And the first thing that I've actually worked on quite a bit, although it feels like it's taking forever, is the Wicked sweater that I've been working on, and this is by Rachel Bishop and Sarah Johnson. It's a top-down sweater, and here is the top part. I've got past the top. And where I am now is on the increases to go down along your arms. And it does seem to be taking a long time, but I have to remember that this is not knit in pieces, so that's probably why seems like it's taking a long time. This is going to be all one piece. So I did make some good progress on it, and again I'm using the Elan Euro Saran for this. And my needles, I'm using Addi Turbos. I have the Addi Turbo interchangeable set, and I do like that set. So that's what I'm working on for my sweater, and this is for the Sock Bunny Knit and Fit Knit Along. She's doing a sweater knit along for the months of January, February, March. So go ahead and check that out if you want. And then another thing I'm working on is out of some of my Undead yarn. This is the Zombified colorway in self-striping, and I did almost finish the first sock. I still have to put in the afterthought heel. So this is as far as I've gotten, and then I'm on the second one, and I put in my yarn for the afterthought heel here. So this is the Zombified self-striping in my Undead yarn, and I'm using my Crazy Threads bag for that one. And then the third thing I started working on is also out of my Undead yarn. It's a new colorway that I have in the shop now. It's called Leprechaun, and this one is green and gold and black. And I started another sock, and this time I'm using some size zeros. I've heard a lot of other podcasters say they use size zeros for their socks, and I normally use a size 1, which in general is pretty good, but I'm kind of curious about the fit. If I go down to a 0, I'm wondering if it will fit even snugger and nicer if I use a 0. So this is size 0, and these are Knit Picks Fix circulars, and I've never used the Knit Picks. The only Knit Picks I've ever used were the Harmony needles, and that really turned me off to Knit Picks needles because I was doing a project and the join broke, and I had hardly used it. I was on my first project with it, and they did send me another pair, but that kind of turned me off to Knit Picks needles, that it broke so quickly. But this one, I really like the cable. These are not the Harmony needles. These are their the other needles. I forget what they're called, but I actually am really liking this for doing magic loop. So this is the third project I've been working on, and I haven't worked on anything else. These are the things that I've worked on in the last couple of weeks. I don't have any finished objects, and I don't have any spinning, but I did finally go ahead and get a new flyer because my flyer chipped. I think I dropped something on it and it chipped part of it, and now the drive band slides off all the time. It slides off the top part of the flyer when I'm spinning, so I haven't been using that. And I also got a jumbo flyer from my local yarn shop because I bought a jumbo bobbin and I didn't even think or realize that in order to use it I needed a jumbo flyer to go along with it. So I got this at the Lucky You. And my wheel, I have the Kromsky Sonata and I love the wheel. I think it's a great wheel and I would recommend it to anybody who likes a taller wheel. The other wheel I was considering was the Traveler, because it's also a portable wheel like this one, but the Traveler was tiny, and it's funny because I'm a short person, but I didn't like that that was so tiny, and I also felt like it wasn't as sturdy as the Kromsky, so I use the Kromsky, and I should be getting to spinning again soon since now I have 2 new flyers and I should be ready to go on that again. The next thing I'll talk about is the week in review, and what I did the last couple of weeks. I went to my local yarn shop, the Lucky You, or I'm sorry, not the Lucky You, the Happy You. The Lucky You is in New Braunfels. The Happy You is in Jonestown, which is pretty close to where I live. And this is called, I went to the yarn shop because Ann I'm not sure how to say her last name, Podolsak of Willy Wonka Fibers was there doing a trunk show. And she signed my copy of Legendary Knits for me. This is a beautiful book. I really love the patterns. Her patterns are often inspired by tales of princes and princesses or mythical stories. Her Legendary Knits Volume 1, there are a couple things I would love to knit out of this, and I'm going to try to show. I know where I sit, it's not always up close, so it's harder to see. But the one that I really want to make is, well, there's a couple of them, but the one I really want to make because I'm trying to challenge myself to do more color work. This is a cowl, and it's called the Sleeping Beauty Cowl, and it takes a lot of different colors. And I really like the way that looks, and I think that would be another good project for me to work on practicing color work. Color work is something that the only time I've done it was on some mittens, and it was when I took a class by Elizabeth Green Musselman. And I actually know her now, and I wanted to mention that she has started a new podcast. And she's a really good teacher, and so in her podcast she kind of has themes, but she also teaches something at the end of each podcast. Right now she has out 2, and her podcast is called Dark Matter Knits. So go check out her podcast. I'm sure she's going to have a lot of information for us to learn. She's works for Cooperative Press, and she also does graphic design work for, I believe, for other crafters. So if you need a logo or something like that, you can probably contact her. And she is also a teacher and a designer. So she knows a lot, and I would recommend going to check out her podcast because she's going to have a lot of good information for us. And so after, the other thing that I did was I'm trying to think of all the things we did in the last couple weeks because it's been a while, but last night we went to a place called North by Northwest for dinner with some friends, and I really like the place. It's a neat place. You walk in, and on the right you can see the brewing tanks. They actually brew their own beer and they sell their own beer, and so they have seasonal beers that they rotate. They have different beers every couple months or so, but then they have like their standard beers that they serve. And the food there is also excellent. I really like how Austin has a really big variety of different places that you can go to eat and do a lot of different things. We always have fun, and we often are able to either go to a restaurant we've been to before, but often we can try a new restaurant almost every week because there's so many different things opening up in Austin. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and start talking about my enabling. And the first thing I got in was from the Unique Sheep. I'm in their Sip and Stitch yarn club. And what they do is they send a skein of their sock yarn. And this is one that they sent this week. And I'm glad to get this because I don't have any yarn that has Tencel in it. And this is Superwash Merino in Tencel. And you know, if you know the Unique Sheep, they sell gradient yarns, so I'm sure this is going to be great. It looks like it goes from pinks into yellows and greens. So this was the yarn that came with the club, and it's called Sip and Stitch because you also get some coffee, and they try to do different indie coffee places that so that they can promote other indie businesses. And this time we got, it's called Nate's Coffee, and I think it says it's Guatemala coffee. So I'm looking forward to trying that. Unfortunately, we're going to have to grind it because I think they sent us the beans instead of the ground coffee, but that's okay. It'll be more fresh then. And then the other thing they sent, which is really kind of cute, it's shaped like a flower pot, but it's a mug, and it has the Unique Sheep logo on it. So I haven't used it yet. I was waiting to show everybody, but now I'm looking forward to trying my new coffee and my new mug from the Unique Sheep. And I got another shipment a couple of months ago. I believe there's 3 shipments total in this this club. But they do have a lot of different yarn clubs. If you like gradient yarns, the Unique Sheep has different clubs. They have one that's, you know, like the Sip and Stitch. And I think they also have one with a T. And then they also have a Zodiac Lace Club, and I believe they base the designs. They send a design along with the lace yarn for this club. And right now I think it's based on different signs of the zodiac. That's what they're basing the shawls on. So those would be some other clubs that you could look into if you like gradient yarns. They have really beautiful yarns and beautiful colors. And I think, like, when you order from them, it's often not ready right away. You have to wait a little while. So the nice thing about having the club is you know it's going to come, and you're going to get it when it's time for the club to come. And the other thing I just actually got in today, I've been wanting to try different types of fibers, and I haven't tried Jacob fiber yet. And Knitter's Nightmare showed this on her podcast. She has the Yarnivore podcast. She showed this on her podcast, and I really like the bright colors. So I saw this and I thought, oh, I don't have any Jacob. I really need to try it. This is called Harmonic Elements, and it's 4 ounces of Jacob. So it's not soft, but you know, like I said, I enjoyed working with Curion, which a lot of people say is rough, but I like the way it wears. So I think that I'm going to enjoy spinning this and knitting something with it, because I'm sure it will be a very strong garment when I'm done with it. So this was the other thing I have for enabling. And this is from Knitter's Nightmare. And then I want to go ahead and, I wanted to mention that we don't have a prize for the FO thread this month. Like I said, the last 2 times I didn't really have many entries, so I went ahead and discontinued that. But somebody did open up an FO thread and put a picture in, and if you haven't seen it, you should go look at it. It's really cute. She knitted a dinosaur. Yeah, she knitted a dinosaur out of the zombified Undead yarn, the variegated, and it's so cute. So if you haven't seen that, you should go check it out. It came out really great. The person who knit it, her name is Nitpicky in Pennsylvania. So I would definitely recommend going to check that out, because it was adorable, and the picture is cute too, because her son's sitting there with it in his lap. I wanted to say thank you guys all for joining the group. Right now I have 115 members, and we're still growing. And next time we reach another 100, so when we get to 200, I'm going to go ahead and pull for another prize from my yarn, and whoever wins can pick whatever that yarn they want from my shop. So tell everybody to come and come and join the group. And I also wanted to say that I got my first iTunes review, and I wanted to say thank you to, I think it was Zombie123 or 321, something like that, but thank you so much for the review. That really helps all of us that podcast when you give us reviews on iTunes, because it pushes us up in the ratings. Right now, when I go onto iTunes and I see games and hobbies, a lot of times it's woodworking things that are near the beginning. And we did have a good run where there were a lot of knitting podcasts that were up near the front, but it seems like lately maybe I don't know if the amount of comments on our podcasts have gone down, but we haven't been as high up in the rankings. We don't come up right away. So it really helps if you go and do reviews for your favorite podcasters. I'll say I'm guilty of not doing it myself, and I've just recently, in the last couple of months, done a couple of reviews because I am understanding now how important it is that we have reviews so that people will be able to find our podcast easier. So thank you for my first review, and I'd be happy to get any more reviews, or if not me, go and give your favorite podcast a review, because it does help the ratings a lot. I wanted to mention that I am not affected by what's going on with Blip, so you will still be able to find me at the same place, whether you are using Feedly or if you're using iTunes. My podcast will still be in the same place, so don't have to worry about that. I'll be okay, because I never was on Blip anyway. So I'm up to shop news, and I do have 3 new colorways. I showed you the leprechaun colorway, which is the gold and the blue and, the gold and the green and the black. And I also have a new colorway called Rotten Tail, which is also self-striping, and it's blue and pink. And then I have my old Killer Rabbit colorway, which is neon green and neon pink in self-striping now. I'm probably only going to carry the Rotten Tail and the Leprechaun through the holidays, and then those will disappear for at least another year. So if you're interested in those, I would go check them out now. But Killer Rabbit will be in the shop from now on. I have it in self-striping and also in variegated. I'm planning some more self-striping yarns. I have some more ideas, and I am also considering putting some more solids in the shop. Right now I just have a pink solid and a blue solid. So I'm going to look into trying some more. I really like the gold colorway the gold color that was in my leprechaun yarn, and I went ahead and dyed myself some solid gold. So if you guys have any ideas for what kind of solid colors you'd like to see, let me know. Especially if you already see the color in one of my self-striping or my variegated yarns, I can always put those in as solids as well. And the coupon code is now finished for the month of January. But right now I'm going to consider doing another coupon code in a while, soon, so stay tuned. And with that, I'm going to say get busy knitting or get busy dyeing.